Hey, this is Tim Clancy, running for the National Coordinator of the Mind's Eye Selection. Continuing forward with these, question number 9, retention. This is going to be a long one, so I'm warning you up front. There's going to be a few slides, but then we'll go ahead and dispense of those. Again, like, share, follow, and join the Facebook group below. And links below the video. There's a huge, this is probably the largest section of my responses in the text form. So there's a link to those responses at the bottom, and I think that might help if people have additional questions because that information's all there. So the question is really a multi-parter, right? What is your plan for recruitment and retention? The MES has this long-standing issue with player recruitment due to a combination of broken stairs, how people view us. We're not well known in the community of LARP, and how do you plan to advertise to new players and encourage old members to return? What do you plan to do to actively combat this negative reputation? And this is a really key part of why I'm approaching the restructuring. So I'm going to spend some time in it. Again, it's going to be a little longer, but I hope it's useful. So let's get into it. Let's see, share that back out. So real quick, what are the 4 problems, right? Let's break it down first before we talk about solutions to these things. What are the 4 problems, right? Well, we have only one style of play. Right, so there's White Wolf, there's BNS, there's Onyx Path. All of these are within one style of play, the World of Darkness style, and that's really a challenge because there's a lot more interest than just that. So in some ways, the entire fortunes of our club are tied to products completely outside our control. You know, as White Wolf gets popular or unpopular, as BNS, you know, they're releasing fantastic products, but as their release cycle, our club will rise and fall as long as we only have one style of play. We failed to differentiate ourselves from other organizations, right? So we're in a age where there's a lot of other LARPs. We're no longer the only Chronicle player. We're no longer the only network one. We're no longer the only national one. There's a lot of good offerings out there, and how do we differentiate ourselves? We struggle under our negative reputation. This should be no surprise to anyone. There's a lot of people who are former CAM members or MES members out there saying, I will never be part of that again. That message resonates because when new members come in and have the same experience, you can now hear this from old and new members alike, and that is a huge burden when it comes to attracting new talent and retaining them. And we aren't very good at spreading our message. So even when we fix things, we kind of are used to the historical precedent that we're one of the big games in town. We're no longer near the big game anymore. It's a much different landscape than where it was. So part of all of this gets into this concept of we currently live, like forget the MES, just look at gaming as a general. If you had told me in 1988, the very first time I went to LARP, 1988, I was a freshman in high school. If you had told me what LARP would be in 2019, I would not have believed you. We live in a golden age of LARP and gaming. It is unfathomable how much different it is than in the past when the Camarilla started and we put all these things together. There are so many options, so many high quality offerings, so many different styles. So we're in this golden age. Now we take a perspective of MES and we've kind of walled ourselves off from it. We've literally built a wall so that we are not participating in this golden age of LARPing as much as we could have been or probably should have been. If you were to say that one of the oldest, longest running continuous clubs for LARP gaming wasn't really benefiting from the largest revolution in LARPing and the largest expansion of LARPing. I mean, and this isn't just LARPing. I'm reading in Washington Post and New York Times about how D&D is cool again, right? These are front page. They're no longer trench coats or satanic myths. Gaming as a whole, all styles of gaming. You have professional esports leagues. All of these things makes it a golden age for gaming, and yet we're not really participating in it. Well, to fix that, I think we need to do 4 things. We need to embrace new games and new styles of play. I know everyone says, oh, we're only a club built on World of Darkness. Don't you know that? Look, if anyone was here earlier than me, feel free to jump in and chime. But the club's always been more than just the one game, right? We do social activities, we do other things, and we are gamers, right? I don't know how many tabletop groups I've gone and explored because of people I found in the game. I'm like, hey, these are good people. I have a good association. It's much easier to feel, if you feel safe in who you're playing with and have a good respect for them, it's much easier to jump in a new style of play or experience something if you're coming from a basis of where you already know the other player. So I think we need to embrace new games and new styles of play. We need to differentiate ourselves from other LARPs, okay? We need to, and we can't just say we're the better blockbuster because we have no experience at that kind of blockbuster where you're literally running massive weekend-long, 1,000-player, super immersive. Nor can we be the best at bespoke because you know what? There's a lot of groups out there that are really, really good at bespoke. There's network games. We have to find a niche that we can differentiate ourselves and offer something some other club can't. We have to improve our negative reputation. That goes without saying. You could have embrace all the styles of play you want, and you could try to differentiate yourself. But if people hear that name and go, "Oh, I really don't want to," I don't, no, thanks. You're not going to get anywhere. And finally, this is really important. We need to embrace new skills for spreading our message out. And so what I want to do is now go through a little bit more detail on each of these 4 pillars and kind of describe what I mean, and also give some specific examples of what this means to certain styles of domains. So new games and new styles of play, pillar 1, right? So I mentioned how our fortunes sink or swim with White Wolf, By Night Studios, Onyx Path. That's not always a bad thing, right? Look, think about it. By Night Studios came out with a fantastic LARP game, a new, they redid a whole lot of things. The Masquerade was brought fresh in 2015. When's the next time they're going to release a new Masquerade game? They're working through, so they've got Apocalypse, there's changing is coming through, but the boost we're getting from By Night's great work has already faded, right? That popularity boost from their marketing effort and things like that has already faded for the club. So if we didn't capture it in 2015, 2016, 2017 and retain it, it's gone. Maybe we got a little boost from Apocalypse. Great, new product, fantastic product. What I'm saying is when these games that are external to the club, we live and die by the cycles of those. And a lot of it becomes out of our hands. You know, the World of Darkness at this point as a property is over 30 years old. Well, depending if you count Ars Magica or not, I'm kind of counting Ars Magica, but the concept of these things are decades old. And it's not going to be necessarily that this style of gaming is what appeals to new generations of members. And we have to be open to experimenting and trying new games and think about what styles of play do we want to look for in the next 30 years, right? It'd be great if I'm 7 years old and I can still play my World of Darkness, but it would be very unlikely that that game would still have the same resonance 30 years from now as it does today, just like it doesn't have the same resonance today as it did decades ago. So we need to be open. And this, I think, really gets to when we talk about sparsely populated domains and virtual domains and virtual venues. Sparsely populated domains, they struggle because in a lot of cases, White Wolf isn't popular there. And as a double feedback sort of mechanism, you really need 20 or so players at the game to fill out the court positions or the tribe positions and have that kind of interactive style of game that we enjoy. You need to have about 15 to 20 members. It's really tough at 10 or less members. But some of these sparsely populated domains, maybe there's just not the population in that area, or White Wolf-based products aren't as popular. If we can increase the offering, the styles of games we play, what we can do is bring in those gamers with a different style, perhaps, and then introduce them to the White Wolf games, right? It's the difference between outreach and organic growth. If players, and I really strongly believe this, we all love to game. And if gamers have good experiences and build friendships on positive, safe gameplay, they're going to be open to trying new games. They're going to say, oh, I really want to, I did this other thing that we came in for, but yeah, I'm willing to try out the LARP game that you're talking to me about, this vampire thing or this werewolf thing. I'm willing to try it out because I like you and I like what's going on around us. And I think when we limit ourselves to one product, we don't open the opportunity to introduce those people to the products we enjoy. We kind of wall ourselves off and say, well, if you're not interested in Old World of Darkness and all the variations of that, you're not for us. That's going to kill us in the long term, and we're feeling it already in our sparsely populated domains. And this rolls into so many things. I mean, sparsely populated domains, it's tough to get the volunteers. It's usually one super volunteer trying to hold everything together, doing both coordinator and storyteller activities. We need to open the aperture of the kind of games we play to bring in larger audiences, and from that, get throw weight. Look, if you have 25 people in a domain, maybe you're offering 5 different games, each of which have a few players and it's going. So it's still a struggle, but now you have a base of 25 to build from. That's a lot different logistics discussion. It's a lot different energy, talent, it's a lot different single point of failure. Right now we have a lot of domains, one person walks away, that domain's gone. When you have 25 people, you can have succession, you can have rotation. It doesn't always have to be, sure, we may be playing multiple games, but we have the throw weight for that domain to become viable, to do recruitment, and to sustain itself. Now, virtual domains, they could benefit from these as well, but maybe these are online offerings, right? Maybe these are esports, shared guilds and things, Pokemon groups. There's a lot of things we can do virtually that virtual domains can take the lead in that would help benefit these organizations as well. It's really hard these days to say, come on to IRC and let's play our LARP game in a text form with scrolling, streams of chat, versus something that people already into. Get them involved, get them engaged, show them the experience we provide is good and positive and safe, and then they may be open to maybe trying some of these other virtual products. So there's a lot we can do both in LARPs, tabletop games, online games. I'm really saying let's be creative and innovative in how we approach the kinds of product we serve. Now, I realize this is not just an NC discussion. There's a board discussion. There's legal implications. But we need to start looking down that path and saying, okay, what does it mean? How does this work? Can it work? And have those discussions rather than just sort of say, well, we're going to wall ourselves off because the gaming world will move past us. The second pillar. The second pillar builds on the first, right? Okay, I'm a little different that I still like the music I liked when I was a teenager, but otherwise, as we age and grow up, our preferences often shift. We don't always like the same thing that we did in the past. But what this club has going for it is a tremendous stickiness of social connectivity and social relationships. And those relationships aren't really always tied to the game. We think they are because that's how we often experience them. But I can go 10, 15 years without running in a scene with someone, and we still have a good relationship because we had those positive experiences. We worked together as volunteers. We went through shared effort. And I'm kind of looking at, in the 20th century, there are these social organizations, Rotary Club, Lions, Kiwanis, all these things. And, they had their place. They were ways of getting together as adults to share common interests. And what I'm kind of envisioning for ourselves to differentiate ourselves in this landscape of LARPs is maybe we become the 21st century version of some of these social clubs, but we built it on an inclusive environment where the connective tissue is a common passion for gaming, safe fellowship, and giving back, right? So I know everyone says, well, that's not what the club was built for. Actually, it was. Go talk to some of the founders. Go look it out. When the club was originally founded, it had a lot more in common with a social club than it did just a pure gaming organization. And I think as we lose that recognition of these long-term social engagements. So I say, let's not get rid of the gaming. Let's actually escalate the gaming and be more embracive of gaming styles in my first pillar. But as a second pillar, let's differentiate ourselves. Let's become a social club built off common interests of gaming. And this allows us to do a lot more things, in terms of education and hardship relief. I've talked about this. We could be creating permanent endowments that fund our own members to go to school, to go to universities, or if they have a hardship in their life, to help them out with that. We do this all the time informally. You'll hear stories about the hat was passed that bought someone a new car when their car broke down on the way to ICC. These things have happened. They don't have to be in our past. They can also be in our future. And if we go out into the gaming environment during this golden age of games and say, look, we are a social club built on a common interest of games. We embrace many different gaming styles, but what you're going to find consistent is the quality of members and the quality of experience you have here, and it's safe, and it's fun, and it's positive, and it's engaging. That's a really strong differentiation now to distinguish from all the other groups out there that are tied to a single product or a single line or a business model. I'm not saying those are bad things, but it allows us to carve out a niche for ourselves that allows us to kind of be a little different and say, look, we're going to be the ones here for you over a very long period of time. Pillar 3, we've got to recognize our past has a lot of baggage with it. And we need to work on improving our reputation with other LARP communities, other LARP organizations. I think it comes down to like commitment, communication, and coordination, right? Collaboration. So, commitment. I know the restructuring is very tough, but there's a lot of suspicion on the outside that we're just going to go through and spin the wheels and do what we've always done. I think to referendum where the membership get a vote and say, look, we are committed to fixing our club, that demonstrates commitment. The fact that we're going to take, the pain of standing down the games for a little bit to get better, that shows commitment. That signals the rest of the community that we're taking this seriously. We can improve our communication by reducing the code of silence, right? I talk about this mesmerta, where we don't talk about our problems, and how that unintentionally creates to the very real perception that we don't deal with them. I think, and if you go back to question 3, I have some more on this, but we can also do a lot on collaboration and coordination. We kind of grew up the special kid, right? We were the big club, and we didn't have to play nice with others, and they could go do what they wanted. And the LARP community has kind of moved us by. I think we need to do a lot more working with other LARPs. So, I mean, this could be a wide range of things. Maybe we take all the BNS-styled LARPs that are out there, Underground Theater, One World by Night, the third one I always forget. But, these BNS-style ones, we have a joint hackathon, right? We all face common technical problems. Let's all get together virtually on a weekend, or pick a place like a convention or something, and let's say, hey, let's build a character tracking sheet that all the clubs can use. Let's build a membership tool that all the clubs can use. Let's build an influence engine for downtimes that all the clubs can use. We don't need to make proprietary standalone solutions. When all of us are volunteers, we're all playing the same kinds of games and we all really enjoy them, but let's pool our technical resources across the community of BNS LARPs, and maybe invite BNS to be a partner in this. I think they would like applications that make their games more accessible, and they could have some insights to help, maybe as a coordination. But we also need to join existing collaboration efforts out there that aren't just BNS or White Wolf, or, there's living games conferences. As I said, LARP has largely moved past us. There are organizations out there we can participate in, we can represent ourselves in, and we can learn from others. I think we need to do a lot of learning about what else is out there and get smarter on that, as well as, sharing some of our experiences. When it comes to sharing, I think we can do a better job of sharing data and trend analysis on toxic behaviors, broken stairs. Make sure that if we identify someone who is truly dangerous, I'm not talking like they said the wrong thing on social media and it's, counseling or reprimanders. I'm talking about when someone has demonstrated a true inability to comport themselves with safe behaviors. I don't think we can let that just go. We need to be open with other LARP organizations, say, hey, this person might be a risk. We're letting you know. And I'd like to hear back from other LARPs, because what happens, and I can tell you this from ANC arbitration, there are cases, and this is not just one, but there are cases where we're dealing with moving to expel someone and they've already joined the next LARP, which is completely unaware of what's going on. Now, a lot of times these patterns are serial, so they get caught on pretty quickly, but I think it'd be better if we were able to be a little bit more transparent to say, hey, here's someone to watch out for. But this sharing doesn't have to always be about negative stuff like, broken stairs. We can do officer exchange programs where volunteers rotate between the clubs. We often struggle in certain chains. We have such a strict hierarchy, which is something we should look at in the restructure. But if all the slots are filled, you have to wait your turn, pay your dues. Well, maybe that person will be willing to volunteer and go help out in a similar style position in another club. Or likewise, maybe members of other clubs that want to rotate to us, that we have these partnership with, these exchange positions, come and give us extra throw weight resources, staff, energy, talent, ideas on the tasks we're working on. I talk in the question about the workflows, number 7 there, about these cross-functional teams. Maybe we have officer exchange where people from other clubs working on tasks, storyteller or coordinator, come together and we learn from each other. I also think there's a lot we can do, with the number of members we have. Let's start talking about membership discounts and other kinds of club partnerships that make us a good partner, and says, hey, maybe for a discount, we bring in to one of these other gaming styles that we talk about. We don't have to create all the games ourselves. Maybe the MES has a presence in some of these games that is hosted by someone else, but we still are well known as being good players, good members, good behaviors, and negotiate some sort of discount, and provide other kinds of member benefits. So these are the types of things I think when we talk about collaboration or improving our reputation with other LARPs are critical. The last pillar, pillar number 4, is we have to be better at spreading our message out. And this is really about technical skills here. When it comes to retention and recruitment, databases are important. Running email list servers was obviously important at growth stage, but the skills we need now are like social media, search engine optimization, modern technical skills about marketing and getting the message out. And these are skills that are generally going to be in our newer members, or newer in terms of joining the club recently, or newer in terms of age, that we need to not force them to go through chapter domain. We need to bring them up, right? We need to pull them up in the organization and take advantage of those skills, because you can't just be, it's not that we're being excellent yet. I'm not saying that, but even if we were, these days you can't just be excellent and hope people hear about it. That worked in the past. The Camarilla enjoyed a sort of classical age where if you were in a college town in the middle of nowhere, there were bars and vampire LARPs, and those were your choices. So congratulations, we benefited from that. Now there's LARPs everywhere. It's a crowded landscape. There's a lot of messaging going on there. We need to learn how to navigate influencers. We're going to use influencers, not use them. These are all things we need to at least look at, and so we can get our message out there. As we get better, as we differentiate ourselves, as we try new products, we need to learn how to tell our story and spread our message more effectively. So again, I know this was long and there's a lot going on, but if you go to the link document that's in the comments of this video, you'll find this plan written out in text form. And again, I'm not getting super detailed in it, but I think these 4 things combined is a huge part and focus. We cannot do these things. We can't even do one of these things, let alone all 4 of them, unless we majorly restructure the club. And that's why I'm proposing this restructuring, because I think it's vital to where we go in the future. And I think it's we need to get started on it. So make your voices heard, and let people know. Like, share, follow, join the Facebook group below, and thank you very much. Next question up, question number 10. I hear it's a good one. See you there. Bye.